I once heard somewhere, if you can get your color values right, you can get away with almost any color. Wow, in the world of traditional art, this might be true. But what results would come up if I tried this in a photo manipulation edit? Turns out there's a lot to learn about color and its importance. And at the end, I'll reveal just how much.
It actually works!
Today, I'll be showing you the steps I took to make a Photoshop edit in black and white, the notes I've taken along the way, and the big lesson to learn about color that you do not want to miss out on. I invite you to watch the video in its entirety to see exactly what I mean. But even though I'm starting in black and white, that doesn't change how any of my Photoshops begin. With a half-baked sketch. It is currently 9:55. It is almost 5 minutes until it's 10. To get the boring business out of the way, I did the sketch. I finished the sketch. Since this is going to be the last week of Halloween, I might as well pull off something spooky that I think is going to end up looking cool. The only thing is that the colors aren't going to match. Black and white is going to be really tricky. But you know what? This is the first time I've actually experimented with something different, so let's see what comes up, I guess. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get to it. To keep consistency, I made sure that every image I used would be dragged into the project as fast as possible as to not grow used to the pretty colors of the image in question. Such I did with Earth, space, and this beautifully carved pumpkin. After darkening the background a bit as to not take the focus away, I decided to shade in the Earth just to get that out of the way. As I was doing this though, I realized my first issue not even 5 minutes into working. I need to be creative with shading. Let me show you an example. Look at these balls. They're pretty balls. In grayscale, they're pretty identical, but something in peculiar happens when I turn on the color. Even with different color, they both hold the same values. I came into this project knowing full well that this would play a really big role. What I didn't know was that I might not even need to be conscious about that decision. I cheated my way into creating some fire and took some time to mask it into the eyes of the pumpkin. I knew fully well the fire was orange, so I would have to treat that fairly, but that didn't stop me from going crazy with color. After doing a little trick using the screen blend mode to make fire appear as if it were leaving the eye, I decided to do something a little funny. Fire is an orange-red, so it would be glowing orange-red realistically. However, to push the limits of how powerful values are, I decided to color using the complete opposite spectrum to see if it really adds up. To be fair, it's going to be a very faint glow, so maybe we won't even be able to notice it, but I still want to see how it turns out. When it comes to the Earth, I brushed it a simple blue, but that didn't stop me from finding out where to spread random colors, especially with the lens flare. After that, I added this photo of the sun to add light rays behind the pumpkin. I'll tell you what, I didn't change the color of the sun rays, but I did make the light some color I would have never thought of. And I'd agree. It wasn't much, but because I was bored I added these cracks, but right after that, I stopped to think. This looks boring. I'm gonna need to do something about this, aren't I? To add just a touch of dynamic flair, I tilted the image a bit. After thinking of how to spice it up, I pulled in some of these rocks from the internet to transform into asteroids. I gave them randomly colored highlights just to see what it would do. After some finishing touches, I feel like I finished.
So I've got the black and white finished. I'm not gonna lie, I am a little bit worried. More often than not, I do not finish a Photoshop in one day. It is very rare the day I finish a Photoshop in one day, unless I'm just on a high streak, on a high roll. Turn off the black and white filter and see what this looks like. Oh, what? It actually works.
Well, that was certainly something. It's interesting to see what I said earlier actually come up into play. What's more is that the different colors I use for lighting actually kind of fit the scene. Not in a realistic way, but in a more artistic and abstract way. Same thing happens with the asteroids, how they're both shining different colors yet still fit the scene somehow.
This is like the 5th time I've tried to film this. I am so tired right now. To be perfectly honest, this turned out so much better than I expected. I think the main takeaway here has to do with just how much time I spent on this. This did not take long to make at all. This video did take forever to make though, so. When trying to make a realistic rendition of something, a realistic photo manipulation of something, it's very, very difficult to try to get it right without using colors. And when you're trying to make something look real, color is something that's very important. It takes up about 80% of the work. But when you're trying to make an abstract piece and not worry about color, then that 80% of the work you suddenly have to stop paying attention to. I'll tell you what, despite it all, this was still very, very fun to make. But at the end of the day, this was a black and white piece that ended up, looking abstract. It looked cool. It did all that fancy jazz. But if you do want to know what my works look like when they are, color focused, then go ahead and check out this video right here. That has a whole shenanigan slew about how, whoa, great I am and stuff. And if you're interested in even more, then check out my Instagram in the description. Go follow. Be good. Thanks.
I'm tired.